Do 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 do. Rum bum bum bum. Bum, 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 bum. Anybody here from YouTube yet? Any YouTubers here? We got locals in the house. We've got Rumble for sure. Still waiting to check in my beloved YouTubers and Rumblers. Anybody here yet? Boom, 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 boom. There we go. YouTube in the house. That means Rumble must be here by now. Well, congratulations and welcome to the best thing that ever happened to you. It's called Coffee with Scott Adams, and I don't think there's ever been a better time in your life. If you'd like to take it up to levels that, even Elon Musk can't reach with his rockets. All you need for that is a cup or a mug or a glass of tank or chalice, a stein, a canteen, jug or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure of the dopamine. At the end of the day, the thing makes everything better. It's called the simultaneous sip, and it happens now. Go. Delightful. Well, here's a little update on my adventures with AI. AI has a serious last inch problem. The last inch means that you can do almost everything you want to do except for just maybe one thing. And it's the one thing that's necessary to make your everything else useful. Let me give you an example. So I've been using two different AIs, ChatGPT 4.0 to make what's called a GPT, like an app made from ChatGPT, and also Delphi. So in both cases, I'm trying to make a little agent that will answer questions on my behalf. And in both cases, they let you upload files, which they can refer to for their specialized answers. But if you use ChatGPT and ask it for a link, it will give you a non-clickable link. In 2024, it provides a link that you can't click. Now it will, if you give it the link yourself, it'll make it clickable. But if it does its own work and presents the link, it won't make it clickable. And apparently it's not just me, it's some massive problem everybody's complaining about. So imagine a piece of software in 2024 that returns links but can't make them clickable. That's a real thing. And it doesn't look fixable. That's the weird thing. There's no workaround. You just can't make it produce a clickable link. It'll give you the text, but it won't be clickable. And it'll even show you that the HTML is correct. The hyperlink, everything's correct. Same as its other links. It just won't let you click on them. I don't know why. And so then on Delphi, there's a different issue. You refer it to a file. In my case, it's got a bunch of dates and the links that apply to the comics. And it can't understand what's in the file. So somehow it trains on it, but it doesn't see it in detail. I don't really understand that. So I've got one that can't read a file and one that can't present a clickable link. And for my application, I need both of those things. So far, AI has been only this. Every AI experience that I've seen or heard about is this. It looks like it would do something amazing. And if you demo it, that's a great demo. And if you see somebody else doing a thing, you think, wow, it does things. But you can't make it do a thing. It's almost there. And I think these are all fixable problems, right? I think Delphi will have theirs fixed in no time. I think ChatGPT has to fix it. It's such an obvious bug. But at the moment, you really can't make it do anything. So here's what you can't trust it to do. You can't trust it with facts because it hallucinates, right? You can't ask it to look in a file that has facts because it doesn't always do it. You can't tell it to give you a link because it won't be clickable. Those are some pretty basic things it doesn't do right now. All right. Here's a story that sounds like an evergreen story now. So there's yet another story about yet another manipulation of the Earth's temperature record, this time in the UK. They're making more adjustments where they adjust it lower in the past so they can adjust it for higher in the future, or the present, I guess. And then they can make it look like the temperatures are going up. And I'm not going to get into the details of what's being claimed and what they can and cannot do. Let me just say it this way. Let me summarize all of climate change science for you. You ready for this? This is what I do for a living. I'm a summarizer. Cartoonists basically take big complicated things and they boil it down to its simplest little stupid truth. Here's the truth about climate change. Anyone who thinks we humans can measure the temperature of the Earth has never had a job that involved measuring anything. It's not a thing. If you've ever had a job, any job in any industry that involved measuring things, and I don't even care what the things are, could be temperature, but it could be anything. We can't measure things in the real world. It's not even a thing. To argue whether they have or have not done it is the wrong argument. First, you'd have to establish that anybody's ever done it, counting things accurately. It's not a thing. In the real world, people can't count things. It's never happened. Even our votes. Have you ever noticed this? Has this ever bothered you? That whenever there's a recount or an audit of a vote, the recount never matches the original vote. Have you ever noticed that? It never does, ever. It's always off by a few. To which I say, how did they miss the few? Like, what was wrong with the system that it's not 100%? How can it ever not be 100%? Like, what are they doing that you could ever get a different count on the recount? Ever. Like, ever. So, in the real world, we can't count things. Nothing can be counted accurately in the real world. It's just a fact. Likewise, we just had 3 months of, what was it? I don't know, housing or something. It was just revised downward. Do you think the GDP is measured accurately? Do you think inflation is measured accurately? Do you think we can tell if jobs are going up or down? Do you think we know if the Biden administration did well in jobs or poorly? No. Every single number that matters is bullshit. We can't measure anything important and never have been able to. It's always been an illusion. We cannot measure anything accurately. We can just get you to believe it's been accurate. That's it. That's it. And I know it sounds extreme, but I would like to refer you to anybody you know who's ever been involved in any kind of a job where they're supposed to measure things. You just ask them, do you think we can measure things and count things in the real world? We can't. Well, the Super Size Me guy, do you remember Morgan Spurlock? He did this documentary called Super Size Me, and he just ate at McDonald's every day for 30 days, and then he recorded how bad his vitals were, so it was bad for his health, and he got fat, and he got, I don't know, high blood sugar and bad cholesterol and everything else. It only took 30 days. Well, he died at age 53 from complications of cancer. Now, does that mean that eating McDonald's killed him? No, that was a while ago. Does it mean that he continued eating unhealthily and it killed him? Well, that I don't know. I don't know, maybe. But here's my comment on it. The cause and effect are, can't be established. But it's a really bad day for McDonald's. Their first bad day is when this movie was released. Hey, by the way, if I eat at your joint for 30 days, my health goes to hell. That's a bad day for McDonald's. The second bad day is when he dies at 53. Now, I know, I just told you, I'm not saying it's connected, but we're only talking about branding and marketing and, how people feel about things. I think McDonald's is the entity that are more sad than his family. No, that's not true. I'm exaggerating. But McDonald's is having a bad day. Have I ever told you that food is poison? Our food supply is poison. So this sounds like a joke, but this is real. I'm going to read this just the way I read it. I promise you it's real. It's just going to sound like I made it up, okay? From ABC News, Boeing is now aiming for its first astronaut launch at the beginning of June. Officials said intensive reviews indicate that the Starliner capsule can safely fly 2 test pilots to the International Space Station despite a propulsion system leak. Wait, what? What? So, so Boeing, the company that's most in the news for mechanical problems, alleged mechanical problems in their planes, they've got a spaceship. They're going to send two astronauts up into space, and despite we've got a little propulsion system leak. Now, I'm no rocket scientist, but if you told me that Boeing was going to send somebody up in a leaky rocket, I would say that sounds about right. How in the world is that a true story? It just doesn't feel like it could possibly be true, but it is. And then the next story, now you can buy your own humanoid robot for $16,000. Unitree is the company. It's the G1. Now it's like a 4-foot tall, cheap robot that nobody thinks it can do, let's say what a Tesla robot will be able to do in a year. So it's sort of a special needs robot. Instead of the really good robot that will go do some work for you, I feel like this is going to be a little a special needs robot. It's going to be 4 feet tall. It won't be able to lift anything, reach anything, or do anything. It'll be like, can you please reach the carrot on the countertop and push it closer to me? All right, here's the carrot. Thank you. Can you hand me a knife? Oh, here's the knife. Thank you. Can you explain to me what a carrot is? Come on. It's going to be special needs robot all day long. I'm gonna wait for the Tesla robot. Thank you. I don't think I'll be jumping in on the discount robot. And when Bry AI launches his new AI sex toy, I would say buy that one. It sounds like it's going to be the deluxe model. What you don't ever want to get is the discount AI sex toy. I don't even have the joke for that yet, but just the fact that there could be a discount, the inexpensive version of the AI sex toy. Because people are going to try to have sex with their robots, and somebody's going to get the special needs $16,000 robot. It's just not going to go well. It's all I can afford. Somebody's going to get the sugar baby robot. Oh my God, future's going to be fun. Anyway, I think I mentioned this before. There's a bunch of billionaires in Silicon Valley who are trying to build. They're collecting up a whole bunch of farmland, and they want to build a town of the future. Where you can walk and everything's good and cheap and everything. So I'll tell you this a million times, and I've been saying this since they started this in 2017. That the future is building cities from scratch. There's just no way around it. Our current cities are basically gone. They'll just turn into concrete prisons eventually. But people are going to have to build new cities. And I do think that each of the cities will have themes because it makes sense. For example, or maybe a community within a city. I can imagine that there'd be a community in which people had kids around the same age, which would make everything easier. I can imagine communities around special interests, they like to do the same things. But what I would like is a sanctuary city. I want to build a city with no DEI, just make it illegal, that everything's merit. Now, I would go live there, and it could be as diverse as you want it to be. You just can't have DEI. So would that be legal? Would it be legal to have a sanctuary city away from the control of my government and the bad influence of DEI and reparations? I would want to go somewhere where reparations and DEI could never be a thing. Is there anything wrong with that? And it wouldn't be segregation, because everybody would be allowed to live there, and nobody would be disallowed for race or anything like that, of course. All right. Well, that's what I want. I want a sanctuary city. And by the way, I'm completely serious. I'm 100% serious that we need a sanctuary city. Elon Musk talking about WhatsApp. There's a new information that WhatsApp exports your user data every night. So apparently there's a whole bunch of data that your WhatsApp downloads to the Meta company at night. Now, it doesn't say it downloads your messages, but if they're using your WhatsApp activity to determine what to market to you, in other words, using it for advertising data, how could it not include your messages? Exactly what kind of data would be useful to Meta if it didn't include the content of the messages? The only thing you'd know is what? Who sent a message to whom and when? That's all you know? Would they really need that? It seems to me that if there's a large bunch of WhatsApp data that's getting downloaded to the headquarters every night, what could that data be? If they're using it for marketing, if they're using it to determine what to advertise to you, it's got to be your messages, right? So there's something about this story that doesn't make sense, because I'm having trouble believing it would be true that they would just right in front of everybody, they would download all your messages that you thought were encrypted, but maybe not so much. Is that what's happening? So I'm going to say there might be maybe some fakeness to the story. There might be some data downloaded, but maybe it's not exactly the messages. I guess I wait for Meta to say what's up. That one's suspicious. In the fake news category, it's a little suspicious, but it's not out of the question. Like, if you told me that they've been secretly reading all your messages forever, I'd say, well, can't say it was unexpected. So there's an influencer, TikTok guy, who went to some anti-Israel protests and offered $100 for anybody who could answer simple questions about the situation. And it looks like maybe nobody collected, that there wasn't a single protester who had a basic knowledge of what they were protesting about. None. Not a single protester was aware of the basics of the situation, such as, where is that river and where's that sea and what's between them? Stuff like that. So here's what I say. Remember I told you that identity is your strongest persuasion except for fear. These students are using identity to be turned into these protesters. In other words, they identify with the other people who are also protesting, or they identify with that point of view. And so they say, hey, yes, I'm one of those people who are like that. So they join the protest. So you would never join a protest of people who you didn't want to be associated with, even if you agreed with them. So let's say there was a protest of morons against pollution. Would you join it? You might be against pollution, but you don't want to join morons against pollution because you're not a moron. So your identity would be more persuasive than the fact that you also agree about reducing pollution. But think now about these students. Their involvement is clearly not about understanding the topic. That's been proven beyond a doubt. They don't understand the topic. So why are they there? Just identity. That's it. They just want to be associated with the new woke thing, or their friends are doing it, whatever. So how can you talk them out of it? Mockery. Mockery, so that their identity becomes idiots. Right now, their identity is, anti-Semites, but they don't care. They don't care if they're identified as anti-Semites, because that's sort of what they're there for. So you have to change them into some identity they can't handle. And don't lock and load, instead mock and meme. And so this influencer who was doing the mockery became very viral. More of this. You should just do it all day long. Just you should do one about how many hoaxes people believe. Do one about trying to explain anything about reality. Just keep doing this. Mock, mock, mock. All right. Of course, as you might expect, there was a bunch of some illegal aliens who were Chechens were found outside a special forces officer's home near a military base, and they had telephoto lens on their camera. Does any of that sound good to you? Who knows what that's really about? But don't you assume that there are massive numbers of terrorists who are in our country now because the border was open? You assume that's true, right? Now, I remind you that I've got a book I'm about ready to announce, and it's a combination of some of my older books that were gigantic hits in the past, God's Debris and the Religion War. Now, the Religion War, it's combined into one book plus a new short story. So the Religion War talks about having embedded terrorists in places all over the country, and that when they all start to do their thing at the same time, collectively, it could be really, really bad. I don't see any possibility that's not the future. It looks like we opened the border and all the bad guys said, oops, this might not last forever. So we better get all of our spies into the country and our terrorists now, and they can wait around until they're ready to do something. If Iran did not send their worst people through the border, what are they doing? I mean, Iran is a very capable country, even if you don't like what they're capable of. They're not going to not send somebody here. Do you think China was not going to send people through the border? Do you think Russia was not going to send anybody through the open border? It would be, their entire intelligence people should be fired if they didn't send anybody through. So the only question I would have is how many? Is it hundreds or is it thousands? Could there be thousands of terrorists who are all going to act at the same time under whatever conditions? I don't think we're at a place where they would act yet, but you can imagine, let's say if there was an attack on Iran proper, you could imagine 100 cities catching on fire all at the same time, unfortunately. So that's bad. There was a Libertarian convention, which interestingly Vivek Ramaswamy went to, because his take is that Republicans need the Libertarian votes. RFK Jr. was there too, working that crowd. And let's see. One of the things that RFK Jr. said there at the Libertarian Party convention was, on the first day in office, he's going to do what Trump should have done, he says, pardon Edward Snowden and drop all the charges against Julian Assange. Now, I'm in favor of that because our government has not told me why I shouldn't be, not with any persuasive information. So I agree with it, even if they have done something that I wish they hadn't, because if my government won't tell me what they're guilty of in a persuasive way, then no, you don't get to put them in jail. No. Transparency or nothing. Right? You don't get to say we have secret evidence they did secret bad things. Right? You're going to have to do better. And Since it's clear that they were, at least to me, it's clear they were trying to do something that would be useful to the people of the United States, I'm a little more concerned about the people who are trying to jail them as being the criminals, but there's a lot we don't know about this story. Utah Senator Mike Lee was complaining on the X platform that he's still being suppressed and that conservatives are periodically being throttled. And Elon Musk said, well, neither conservative nor progressive should be throttled, and he'll investigate. But what's interesting is that Musk was open to the allegation. So instead of saying, we don't do that, I fixed that long ago, he said, I'll investigate. Now, at this point, first of all, Utah Senator Mike Lee would be considered credible, right? He's not a crazy guy. So if he says, my impression is that conservatives are being throttled, Elon should take that seriously because it's coming from a credible source. Now, it's my impression that it's happening to me as well. How many of you are having the impression, again, just anecdotal, that there's still something happening on X with some types of content? I see somebody saying that Peter Navarro will be released in July. Is that right? He gets out before the election? Good. But he's still in jail. Apparently he's doing okay because he wants to serve his time. And that is so gangster. I think Peter Navarro is being weaponized in a way that the bad guys are going to be really, really sorry. All right. Yeah, I'm seeing lots of people saying that they think they're being suppressed. I think some of my posts are being suppressed because I'm reasonably good at guessing what things can go viral. And things that normally, I'd be right 4 out of 5 times are routinely not going viral. And it does look like it's being throttled compared to where it was even a year ago. So it feels like it. But it's also possible that the algorithm is just maybe favors things that advertisers want to be paired with, which gets you to a bad place. So I'm glad he's investigating. I do think there's something to it, but I can't say for 100% sure there's something wrong with it, but it sure seems like it. Sure seems like it. All right. The January 6th committee, the Democrats there say they fear Trump will jail them. To which I say, of course he should jail them. Now, Trump himself should not be jailing anybody, but shouldn't the Department of Justice jail them for what we all see are very obvious crimes? I mean, if it's true, as the Amuse account says, that they encrypted and then deleted more than 1 terabyte of evidence, including the video depositions, did they intentionally ignore testimonies and documents that would have been exculpatory? Of course they did. Was the purpose to change the government? Yes, it was, very obviously. Did they use fraud and corruption to try to do that? Yes, right in front of us, very obviously. So are you telling me none of that's illegal? It's not illegal to run a coup right in front of the country? Yeah, they should be in jail. Absolutely. And I'll say it again, the Biden people are afraid that the Trump and MAGA people will try to get revenge. Revenge is not the thing you want to get rid of. Revenge is the backbone of our system. The backbone of all civilization is that if you do something bad, somebody's going to come fuck you up. You can't lose that. That's necessary for the well-being of the country. So yes, revenge and the motivating feeling that it gives you drives everything good, right? Now we can lie and say, oh, we're putting you in jail to rehabilitate you. No, we're not. Nobody's getting rehabilitated in jail. Or we could say, oh, we're putting you in jail to keep you away from the public. Well, I mean, that's a benefit. But no, it's revenge. It's revenge every time because that's the only thing that motivates us. We're motivated by it. That's why the justice system is so well funded and gigantic. We really like to get our revenge. If somebody hurts us, we want the government to go hurt them back, and hard. So no, revenge is not to be, as long as the revenge is based on a real offense. You don't want to be making up some revenge over nothing. So I'm not in favor of that. I'm not in favor of political revenge. I'm only in favor of if somebody broke a law and somebody was victimized. Yeah, somebody should be sent to fuck them up, and it should be the justice system, and it should all be under the rules of law. So yes, more revenge, more of the time, but certainly the January 6 people, I think this just obviously belong in jail. Likewise, a lot of people involved with the pandemic. I won't name names, but clearly some of the pandemic people belong in jail. I don't think anybody's going to argue with that. Well, Chuck Schumer just validated every conspiracy theorist belief about the open border. He says straight up, we're not producing enough children, so we got to bring in people to become the new Americans. We got to make them all Americans, let them vote. Would you call this replacement theory? Some are saying, but he just admitted replacement theory. Well, I would say it's more like addition theory. I think he's saying clearly, we're going to add people, because if we don't add people, we're going to naturally subtract them from lack of reproduction. And when we add them, there'll be, obviously fewer white people as a ratio in the United States. But it's completely transparent now. I have the weirdest reaction to things that are transparent, which is even when I don't like them, I don't feel as mad as long as everybody's being honest about it. Yes, we are bringing these people in because we don't have enough people. Yes, we want them to vote. Yes, we think they'll be mostly Democrats. Believe it or not, it makes me feel better, not worse. At least they're saying exactly what they're doing. And that gives you a basis from which you could criticize it, maybe change some laws, but at least it's plain and it's out there now. But I think calling it replacement theory goes too far in my view. I think it's addition theory. They're trying to add until the added people are more important than the people who are here, relative to the political situation. So you don't have to like it, but you can at least appreciate the transparency of it. And then you can decide what to do with it once you understand it. Well, Judicial Watch filed a class action lawsuit about reparations in Evanston, Illinois. So they have some kind of program there where they use race as the eligibility requirement for reparations. So good job, Judicial Watch, suing over reparations. There should be a lawsuit every time there's reparations everywhere for the same reason. The only way you'll ever stop the reparations is a lawsuit every time, everywhere, every time. And it probably has to come from some centralized source like Judicial Watch. Meanwhile, Aaron Sabarium is reporting on X that the dean of UCLA Medical School is denying the news reports and allegations that they were using racial standards for acceptance. And he says that it was based on merit. Everything's based on merit. Do you believe that? Do you believe that their admissions that went heavily for more DEI, do you think that was all based on merit? Of course not. That's ridiculous. That's just a pure lie. Yeah, I don't have to even look at the details, do you? You don't have to look at any details to know that's just a bold-faced lie. It's sort of the Mark Cuban approach. Well, we thought they were all qualified. No, you fucking didn't. Yes, we did. Just look at these good scores and, well, these are way lower than you usually require. Well, yes, the scores are much lower than we usually require. But if you look at the totality of things, they're qualified. So it's really about their qualifications. To which I say, compared to what? Not compared to how you used to do it, which was to take the best people. Yeah, but they're still good enough. But that's not the argument, is it? The argument is not whether they pass some minimum standard, which, by the way, you just lowered. The question is, are you getting the same quality you used to? And obviously, no. So DEI is being, let's say, treated the way it should be treated. Reparations are being lawsuited. End wokeness tells us that in law schools, let's see. So here's what Biden has done. So Biden's 200 federal judges, 37% are white, 42% are Hispanic and Black, and 14% Asian. But as End Wokeness points out, the LSAT scores that were 170 or above, I guess that's a good score. 83% are white, 15% Asian, and 1.6% Hispanic, and 0.3% Black. So Hispanic and Black were, I guess, combined under 1%, scored up in that higher level, and yet 42% were Hispanic and Black. There's no other way to look at this other than incompetence. There is going to be a major incompetence bubble coming from doctors and lawyers and possibly Boeing mechanics, but that's just an allegation. Yeah, the incompetence bubble is just going to be enormous. So this is another reason to create a DEI-free city. If you could possibly go somewhere where your judges and your doctors were not DEI hires, you at least won't go to jail for nothing, and you at least won't die in the hospital as often. Even Charlemagne the God is calling out the hypocrisy in Joe Biden's Morehouse speech. He went on Megyn Kelly. By the way, let me give a shout out again. Megyn Kelly's just killing it. I like watching Megyn Kelly's, she had some issues with Fox and then her next career after that. So she builds her own thing, and it's sort of a world beater at the moment. I mean, she's doing the best. I think some of the best stuff about the election is coming out of her podcasts. So if you're not watching Megyn Kelly, you're missing a lot. Anyway, so Charlemagne is sort of anti-Joe Biden because he thinks that Biden was not good for the Black community, and nobody likes that. If you vote for Joe Biden, you ain't Black thing. Now Charlemagne says if you vote for Joe Biden, you ain't smart. I saw a number of people interviewed at the Trump rally in the Bronx, and a number of the Black people who were interviewed said that the Charlemagne interview with Joe Biden, where Biden said, if you don't vote Democrat, you ain't Black. Apparently that really bothered a lot of people. So a number of people said that first. It's like the first thing they thought of. I was surprised that had as much impact as it did. All right. So CNN says President Trump is trending toward the best performance for a Republican decade among Hispanic voters in 2 decades. And on top of that, he's gaining with all non-white voters. Now, that's a CNN feature. Like they made a point of it, saying that Trump is gaining with all minority voters. There's a trend developing that I will develop in a little bit here. The CNN is actually aiming for the middle on this one. I won't say that they're backing Trump, but there's a really clear narrative change at CNN where they're going after Biden when it makes sense, and they're saying true things about Trump once in a while, which I haven't expected in a long time. Now, compared to MSNBC is just a dumpster fire of mental illness, but CNN apparently has some kind of management guidance to be a real news entity for a while. So keep an eye on that. There might actually, I've said this once before and it was completely wrong, but it looks like they might actually want to be hitting that middle ground where they would do the best if they could hit it. So if that's what they're trying to do, I applaud that. Here's some more evidence. There was a CNN reporter who was struck by the size of the pro-Trump rally in one of the bluest places. So they're saying that he got around 25,000 supporters. And so CNN correspondent Kristen Holmes told Anderson Cooper she was really surprised how massive it was. Now, I saw a local news report that did a helicopter shot that showed only about 1,000 people there. And they claimed that the rally was underwhelming. And if you did a wide shot, it was only about, just visually, if I looked at it, it looked like 1,000 or 2,000. So how could CNN be reporting 25,000 while the local news was showing a picture that couldn't have been more than 2,000? I don't know what's true anymore. Do you think CNN's wrong? Because I think CNN wouldn't report that big a number, because that's a big number, 25,000. I don't think they would report that unless it was obviously 25,000. Yeah, there's no way that CNN would have looked at a group of 2,000 people and then reported it as 25,000. So I'm leaning toward there being the right number. So again, that would be CNN saying a very positive thing about Trump. Here's another one. Remember that story about the unified Reich, that phrase that was on something that Trump reposted? And then he took it down when he found out. CNN has debunked it. Hold on to your hat. One of the biggest complaints from Biden actually did a campaign commercial saying that Trump used this Third Reich thing. CNN just debunked it. They found out that that text came from some guy in Turkey who was just a video guy who was collecting some stuff, and that nobody noticed. It was just some old style thing it wasn't even an American. It wasn't even made by an American. It was a Turkish, not in America, guy in Turkey who had collected some images from old things and put them together, and somebody just borrowed it and didn't read it all. So CNN debunked the unified Reich story that Biden has already done a campaign commercial treating it like it was true. You can see what I'm talking about, right? That's 3 stories just today where CNN took the actual accurate view of reality about Trump. I think they all see it. I think everybody sees what's going on at this point. CNN certainly sees it. Now, again, MSNBC is a mental health problem, and I mean that literally, not as a hyperbole and not as a joke. MSNBC just has a mental health problem. They can't be taken seriously. Well, here's a story I didn't understand yesterday, but I'm getting a little better understanding. So America First, the legal group that's doing a lot of great work defending conservatives and Republicans, they found this Obama secret memo, or they're talking about it anyway, in which something happened during the Obama administration where the rule was that all the records would get digitized, including anything that was on paper. They would digitize it. And the reason that's important is that it means that when the archives were insisting that Trump give them back records, a big part of the argument was that Trump had the records, and that if the archives belonged properly with the government, and those were the only ones, then they would have to give them back. But it turns out that they always had the records. That's right. And there was no question about them always having the records, because since Obama, everything's digitized, so there could not be anything in the boxes except things they already had the records for. And that seems to be the case. So the story would be, if they're making that claim as the necessity for getting the records back, that's invalid because they never lost the records in the first place. In other words, there was no information that was ever at risk. They always had it. What they didn't have is the other copy. Why did they need the other copy back? Well, I may have this part of the story wrong, but I believe that what Obama did also in his secret memo is make it the sole responsibility of the president of what documents go where, and that the process should have been something more along the lines of, hey, you got a bunch of documents, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if they're not properly secured, until you build a properly secured presidential library, you should work with us to make sure they're properly secured until you put them in a properly secured library. So that's what the process should have been. The process never should have been, give us the records back. The process should have been, let us help you keep them secure in your possession because they're yours. And you can put them in the presidential library where they'll definitely be secure because we'll build it that way. Or you'll build it that way. That changes everything. Now, on top of that, Jack Smith wants a gag order on Trump for saying that the order for the raid on Mar-a-Lago would include when they could use violence. And Trump is saying that that's basically an attempt to assassinate him, which is hyperbole, but not impossible. And Jack Smith is trying to gag him from saying that. You all see it now, right? I mean, you all saw it before, but we can all see that this is just pure lawfare. Trump should absolutely be able to complain about that secret document that said that maybe they could use violence when they went to his house. You don't think somebody should be able to tell the public, oh, they were authorized to use force in my house, ex-president of the United States. Yes, he's allowed to say that as much as he fucking wants. As much as he wants. Now, I don't know if the gag order will be approved. I sure hope not, because I don't see how that's directly related to anything except a historical document, which is exculpatory. And by the way, those words are on the document. And by the way, he is completely welcome to interpret them the way he's interpreting them. I don't fully agree with his interpretation. It's a little hyperbolic, but it's not crazy. It's not crazy. As someone pointed out, I forget who, somebody smart, said that language wasn't exactly boilerplate because it had to be modified to take into account that Secret Service would be there. If they modified it to take into account the Secret Service would be there, it wasn't exactly boilerplate. It's exactly what they wanted to be there. You know, they didn't. It wasn't an oversight. They negotiated that part of it to take into account the Secret Service protection. But I think I agree with, I think maybe it was Turley or somebody, Jonathan Turley, who said that story is a little overblown, and it might be, it's somewhere in between normal procedure and wishful thinking on their part. It doesn't exactly look like an assassination attempt. However, I'm fully in favor of Trump branding it that way, because it's, you know, that's within the realm of acceptable hyperbole, right? As long as we don't lose sight of what the actual issue is, how he spins it is just regular politics. That's fine. All right. So that's interesting. And a big shout out to America First Legal, who is killing it. They're just killing it. And yeah. So I'm glad there's some legal defense happening now. So MSNBC, well, De Niro was playing as part of a ad. So, you know, De Niro is a nutcase who hates Trump. And I looked at the Democrat ad and I counted 5 hoaxes in 30 seconds. 5 hoaxes. He started with drinking bleach. He went to used gas to clear people out for a photo op. I forget the other ones, but it was basically 5 hoaxes in a row are why you should not vote for Trump. Oh my God. 5 hoaxes in a row. The poor bastard. I wonder if he believes them. Don't know. If you went to ChatGPT and asked them about the Fine People hoax, you know what it would say? It would say it's a hoax. ChatGPT. And it'll give you all kinds of details. So what do the bad guys, the Democrats, what do they do when ChatGPT debunks their hoaxes? Because that's what's happening. You just have to ask it. It will debunk all of their hoaxes. Now, it's only going to debunk the ones that are based on things like a fake edit, because it can see the original document. So AI knows that it was fake. All right. Here's what the Democrats are doing. Since they don't have any policy arguments and there's nothing they can really say bad about them, the only true thing that De Niro said, it was mostly hoaxes, but the one true thing he said was that that Trump did midnight tweets. And he added the midnight tweets on his list of the hoaxes. Well, he treated them like they're all real. Like, what exactly is wrong with the midnight tweets? He works long hours? I'm not even sure what that's about. But Hakeem Jeffries has some additional ones on MSNBC. He said, it's important for the American people to understand that if Roe can fall, anything can fall. Social Security itself can fall. Medicare can fall. The ACA can fall. Democracy can fall. So watch the trend. The trend is this. There's absolutely no argument in favor of Biden. None. There is not any argument left in favor of Biden. So they literally have to make up things that couldn't possibly happen. like Trump getting rid of Social Security, Medicare. He might tweak the ACA, but even that I doubt. And certainly democracy is not going to fall. I mean, that fell a long time ago. So the Democrats literally have to make up stuff that is hugely unlikely that would happen in order to scare people away from Trump. All right. How about The Hill? Somebody wrote an opinion piece in The Hill. I don't care who it is because it's so stupid. Quote, a second Trump term could actually make inflation worse. Yes, it could, because anything could happen. But do you see the trend? They can't think of a policy problem that makes Biden better than Trump. So they have to scare you about what unlikely things might happen. Yes, unlikely things might happen in every case, everywhere, all the time. The best they can do is literally make up things that are so unlikely. Trump getting rid of Social Security. Really? Is that one we're really going to talk about? He's going to get rid of democracy. So, and here's another one. So apparently the Central Park 5 hoax is coming out because people just have nothing. They got nothing. So how many of you know that in that quote, Central Park 5, how many of you know that Trump never mentioned them? So the entire hoax is that Trump wanted the Central Park 5 to be executed when the legal system in the end did not find them guilty. So there are two things here. It doesn't mean they weren't guilty. It just means the courts found them not guilty. Now, we're watching what the courts are doing today, and we can see that the courts are crooked today. Were they better then? I don't know. So there's some question about whether they're guilty. We can only say the court found that they weren't. And then they said that Trump didn't apologize. What was he apologizing for? Because he never named them. He just said crime bad. Whoever did it should get the death penalty. So somehow that turned into he wanted those 5 people to get the death penalty, which never happened. Just a hoax. Yeah, we don't know who was guilty there. We can know what the courts found, but we can't know what's true because those are pretty different. Let's see. Laura Loomer has a real good scoop. So Judge Merchan. So if I got my judges right, Judge Merchan is the Stormy Daniels case judge, right? His daughter is a Democrat activist type who does some kind of consulting. But here are the people who have sent money to the judge's daughter for her services in the past. That would include, let's see, the governor of New York. That would include Representative Dan Goldman. It includes Hakeem Jeffries. And let's see, also, I think Schumer, maybe? Yeah, Senator Schumer. These are all customers who have sent large amounts of money to the judge's daughter. In what world does this trial continue? In what world does knowing that all of Trump's worst enemies are donating huge amounts of money to the judge's daughter, how in the world does this continue? In what world does that not get overturned just for that alone? For what reason? I guess she's a consultant of some kind, Democrat consultant. So, my God, even the Biden and Harris campaign has paid this, the judge's daughter. The Biden-Harris campaign has used the daughter's services. And the judge was chosen randomly. But randomly, he got all of the Trump trials, all 3 in a row, randomly. He should be in jail. It seems to me the judge should be jailed because he's not doing any judge work. It looks like he's trying to put an innocent person in jail. That should be jailable. I mean, there's got to be some crime that says you can't put innocent people in jail because your daughter is getting paid. Yeah, it seems pretty RICO to me, too. All right. And here's the thing, that with that gag order and Trump complaining about the government or the Biden administration trying to assassinate him, in the context where we're watching massive lawfare against Trump, it is not out of the question that they are also trying directly to assassinate him. In a normal year, I'd say, no, that'd be crazy. It's just 2 people competing for the presidency. Nobody's trying to kill the other side. But the lawfare creates a different context. It's clear that they would do anything right in front of you, no matter how crooked, because you see 91 counts, right? It couldn't be more obvious. So you can't do lawfare right in front of me and then tell me it's ridiculous to think that they would try to kill him. Those 2 things I can't hold in my head at the same time. I'm watching the lawfare, and that tells me it's completely within the bounds that they would try to kill him and make it look like an accident or something. Now, I think the odds of that particular thing actually being dangerous in the long run was very small. But it does maybe get to a state of mind, meaning that whoever filled out that paperwork didn't care if he got killed. They probably weren't trying to make it happen, but certainly didn't care. That much I can say for sure. Meanwhile, the CEO of Blackstone, Steve Schwarzman, he says he's going to back Trump, including raising money for him. How unusual is that? Super unusual, because he's a Democrat, I believe. And I think it's unusual they would flip. Why is he flipping? Because of all the rise of anti-Semitism, and he believes that Trump would be the better pick because Biden's not doing enough to stop the anti-Semitism. What does that mean? Let's see. A very smart CEO of one of our biggest firms, really, really smart and very Jewish, so much so that he's going to change his political activities because of the anti-Semitism. Well, let me tell you what that means to me. It means he doesn't believe the fine people hoax. Can we say that for sure? Do you think he would change to Trump if he thought there was any truth to the fact that Trump had called the neo-Nazis marching against Jews fine people? Of course not. No, he's a smart, well-educated person who knows damn well that that was never true, because there's no way in hell he's going to be backing him if he thought it was true or even maybe true, right? That's not going to happen. Somebody says Schwartzman supported Trump in 2016 and 2020. Then why is it a news story? Why is it a news story if he did it in those prior years? So I'm being fact-checked in real time, probably correctly. Why is it a story if he's just going to do what he did before? Maybe it's only because of his reasons? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he turned because of January 6th and now he's turning back. So I guess I don't know the details of his thinking, but I can say for sure that if he's backing Trump, he does not believe the fine people hoax. Here's another story in the same vein. So there's a story that J.D. Vance was behind the fundraiser for Trump that was led by tech investors David Sachs and Chamath Palihapitiya. Now, what do David Sachs and Chamath have in common with CEO Steve Schwartzman? Well, they're super smart people who can see that Biden is just gone and there's only one choice left. Yeah. So here's my hypothesis slash, let's say, prediction. I believe that there's going to be a smart person revolt. Smart person revolt. In other words, Democrats who can no longer pretend that Biden is a good choice. Elon Musk, Democrat, no way this makes sense anymore. Bill Ackman, Democrat, there's no way this makes sense to vote for Biden. I mean, he's pretty direct about it now. Schwartzman may be a special case, as you fact-checked me. But Sachs and Chamath, they were not Democrat voters. And they're raising money for Trump. If you go all the way from voting Democrat to raising money for Trump, you're calling out a huge problem in Biden, right? So I think what's going to happen, with the exception of Mark Cuban maybe, is that the smartest people will no longer be able to hold their position. Do you remember what I said about identity? At this point, if you're supporting Joe Biden and you're, let's say, a citizen, you're not normally a political activist. The political activists are just doing their job. So, of course, they're going to support their side. But if you're an independent citizen and what you'd like people to know about you, because it's important to your work, if not your personality and your feelings, you'd want people to think that you're smart and you can see a situation for what it is and you can act appropriately. Right? If you're gonna give your money to somebody who's going to invest it for you, if you're going to give your money to Bill Ackman, would you give your money to somebody to invest for you who thought Biden looked like a good deal? Seriously, would you? No, because it would make the investor look like an idiot. So you can't be a person who's trying to sell yourself as a smart person who can see the whole field. That's what your investors do. Your venture capitalists, they're supposed to be the smart ones who can see the whole field. What is the All In podcast about? It's 4 smart friends who can see the whole field. That's why it's special. That's why it's doing so well, right? So you can no longer be a smart person and back Biden. I'm sorry. That's not a political comment. That's not a political, it's outside of politics now. It's so obvious that Biden is gone mentally that you cannot say, hey, people, I can see the whole field. Put your money with me. You can trust me. I'm just going to do what makes sense. At the same time, you're saying Biden looks like a good deal. So the identity schism is going to happen, and it's going to really break hard. You've heard the saying that things are slow until they're fast. So you're seeing the first bravest, smartest people, Elon Musk, Sachs, Bill Ackman, maybe Schwarzman, I don't know. But you're seeing the smartest people who lean Democrat just surrendering and saying, okay, I can't be identified as somebody who thinks this is a good idea. It will be too embarrassing. And as other smart people abandon Biden, you'll see it's going to start from the top. It's going to be smartest first, and but you're also seeing it within the minority communities. Let's say is Charlemagne the God smart? Looks like it. Looks pretty smart to me. And he's basically, no, I'm not going to vote for Trump, but Biden's not making it. So I think you're going to see all the smart people go first. How about Dershowitz, Alan Dershowitz? Now, I don't know that he's changed his vote, but he will certainly tell you that all the stuff against Trump is lawfare. He'll tell you that. He'll tell you that Biden's not getting it done for Israel. So watch this trend. The smart people will go first, and then it's going to turn into an avalanche. If the Democrats go ahead and nominate Biden, which is the path we're on, I think that's when the dam breaks. That's when all the smart Democrats say, I'm out. I thought there was some chance he would be substituted, but it looks like you're going to go with him. I'm out. Glenn Greenwald just wiped the floor with Dershowitz. Well, I saw a clip that made that claim, but the clip didn't back it up. I saw the clip you saw, and I thought, did he really demolish him, or did he just make a good point? That's different than demolishing somebody. So maybe there's more to it, and I'll have to watch it. All right. That, ladies and gentlemen, concludes the best show you're going to see this morning, because a lot of other people are lazy. They don't work on weekends. Not like me. All right. Did I miss anybody in terms of other famous smart Democrats who are leaving the camp because they can see what's going on? Okay, I'm getting a fact check. So the Blackstone CEO Schwarzman dropped Trump after January 6th and now has returned. Okay, so that all makes sense. So I speculated it was January 6th. It turns out it was. And I think that people who thought January 6th was real have probably figured out that it was always an op. Right. All right, thanks. Smart people, do your thing. He came back because Haley endorsed him. I don't know. Please watch this Brittany Griner interview. Why? Because her voice changed? I'm not super interested in Brittany Griner for any reason. Should I be? You're saying Glenn Greenwald is vastly overrated? Well, you can say that about anybody. The thing about Glenn Greenwald, and I'll say this about a number of other people as well, is, oh my God, we're better off with his voice. I'm not saying I agree with him all the time, but he comes at every issue from a way that's not like everybody else is doing it. And you need a lot more of that, even when you disagree with it. Same with RFK Jr. I definitely don't agree with all of his preferences, but oh my God, are we better off with him in the mix? I mean, I just love having him in the mix. Yeah. RFK Jr. strikes me as someone who actually is trying to help the country. Trump does too, by the way, but Biden doesn't. Biden does not come across as somebody who's trying to fix anything except his own income. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say bye to YouTube and Rumble and X. Thanks for joining. I'll spend some time with my beloved subscribers at Locals at scottems.locals.com if you wanted to join someday. Until then, till tomorrow, bye for now.